I'm from Donikian Media. In essence, I've been a supporter of the Australian Intercultural Society for the better part of the last half dozen years. This is where I first discovered the influence of Hizmet. And for me, I understood very clearly, very early on, that it was a marvelous initiative sourced originally out of Turkey by a man called Hoca Efendi, Fethullah Gülen. In essence, what Gülen was asking, not so much his disciples, but his supporters to do, was to reach out, not his disciples, but his supporters, to reach out, travel the world, and educate as many people as possible so that those one-time dark spots would have less room to grow. We've seen a world that's been polluted at many levels, and one of the great ways to give people a chance to understand what is happening is to educate them. And by allowing schools and universities to reach out and teach many more people than they would have, we're giving the world and all these people, all those people who live in it, a greater chance to live their lives and do it in a manner that is comforting. I saw instances in Turkey, I saw instances in Romania when we were there recently, where students were being given a license to learn and they were excited by the prospect. I saw campuses filled with inquisitive young minds and so on and so forth. And he goes on to talk about his father. My father, who had just passed away a year before I interviewed George Donikian, my father left Europe at the end of World War II and came to the other end of the globe where few spoke his language, much less understood his culture. He spoke several languages, but in essence, when he arrived to Australia, he was Greek, Armenian, Turk. His Turkish, as Ahmed, who was my Hizmet guide who was with me, bringing me from place to place when I spoke to these people, his Turkish was very good. We lost him a couple of years ago. My dad was someone who believed that if you aspire and you want to give your best and you keep driving yourself in that direction, then ultimately you will keep the goals and reach the marks that you set for yourself. He was delighted when I said I wanted to support this group of guys who were involved in this thing called Hizmet. He said, tell me about it. And I told him about Hizmet and Hoca Efendi. My father said, if you want to support them, get behind them. Don't do it half-heartedly. Do it to the best of your ability. And when he first met the boys from Sydney College, he was immersed in a trice and reached back and started speaking the Turkish. I remember he used to speak a great many with a great many of his good close friends in the early days in Sydney. And they could not believe that a man of Greek Armenian background could be so open to them. I said, because he is not just Armenian, not just Greek, but he's Turkish too. So of course, the two national ethnic groups with which Turkey has been most at odds over the last 200 years are the Armenians and the Greeks. And it's symptomatic of Hizmet that that just doesn't even figure into how they deal with each other. And that's clearly what impressed George Donikian and George Donikian's father, who came from both Greek and Armenian roots. But during the Ottoman period in which he was born, the area where he lived was under Ottoman Turkish control, which is why he also spoke Turkish. But his sense of camaraderie as opposed to hostility was reflective of the experience he was having with the Hizmet people he met.